I'm Diane Macedo. We have breaking news on Israel's war with Hamas. I want to bring in foreign correspondent Matt Rivers in Tel Aviv, Israel, along with White House correspondent Karen Travers for more. Matt, what are you hearing?
Yeah, so in just the last few moments, and we're really still trying to gather reportable information about this incident, but images were starting to come in of an attack, an explosion outside of Al-Shifa hospital. This is one of the main hospitals in Gaza. It's really a nerve center for the people inside of Gaza, both the injured and those using it to try and be protected from the ongoing Israeli airstrikes. But what we're seeing there, and according to Hamas, there was an explosion they say was caused by a rocket outside of that hospital. It did a lot of damage, injured a lot of people, and we're seeing images of at least one ambulance as a part of a convoy being damaged as a result of this explosion. Now, we're told by officials with Hamas inside of Gaza that that ambulance was part of a convoy that was taking people south toward the Egypt-Gaza border. That's what Hamas is saying. We're still trying to get some clarification from the Israel Defense Forces about this attack inside of Gaza, but that's what Hamas is calling it, an attack. We know there are injured, and of course this is very concerning because this is a hospital where all of the casualties that we're seeing over and over again in Gaza, that's where people are trying to go for that kind of life-saving care. And if there's an attack like this, if it is confirmed, if we do learn more information about this, obviously very concerning for the people there. I actually spoke yesterday, this was before all of this happened, to a nurse who works inside that hospital, that nurse affiliated with Doctors Without Borders, and he was just describing the conditions there. They're quickly running out of fuel, he says. They have trouble getting clean water. There's patients not only in beds in every single room, but there's patients who are being triaged on the floor in some cases. There's not enough bandages for burn victims, so it's already a very difficult situation, as we know, Diane, inside of Gaza, and now with reports of this attack that we still need to confirm more information about, but this is something we're going to be watching very closely. A tough situation right now in Gaza.
There is. Matt, the IDF has previously claimed that Shifa Hospital is used by Hamas as a shielded command and control center. Hamas denies that. What do we know about that, and how would that impact the hospital's protected status?
Yeah, so in terms of the overall messaging from Israel, we know that they say that Hamas uses human shields, that they put their command and control centers in places like hospitals, like civilian areas, because they want to shield themselves from Israeli airstrikes. That's what Israel says. Hamas firmly denies that. We've heard other aid groups who operate in Gaza deny that. But whether that's true or not, what we're seeing are attacks in and around these areas from Israeli airstrikes that are having an impact. There is no question about that, that there are casualties as a result of these strikes, and that Israel is claiming that those attacks really are Hamas's fault because of where they put their command and control centers. Hamas, of course, accusing the Israelis of war crimes and all of this. It's very difficult because we can't get on the ground in Gaza. We can't get into Al-Shifa hospital to exactly see that kind of thing for ourselves. We have the claims from both sides, but the fact is people keep dying as a result of these airstrikes.
And Matt, the leader of the militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon spoke today for the first time since the October 7th attack in Israel. This is coming amid growing concern that this war could expand to the northern border with Lebanon. So what's the latest on that, and how is his speech having an impact?
Yeah, so this is a speech by the leader of Hezbollah that we've been waiting to hear for a while now, frankly, since the beginning of this conflict. He doesn't usually give speeches like this all that often, and so the whole world really was attuned to what he was going to say, if only because Hezbollah as a fighting force is more capable than Hamas, frankly, more organized, better armed. They could inflict a lot more damage on Israeli troops than Hamas can, quite frankly, and so we were waiting to see what he was going to say this afternoon. We heard very similar rhetoric from the Hezbollah leader, talking about how this is Israel's fault, talking about how the United States is complicit with this, how the West is complicit with this, how they're on the side of Hamas and its actions on October 7th. They claim that they had no prior knowledge of this attack. In a way, he was almost separating himself, calling this a 100% Palestinian operation, saying they didn't back it, the Iranians didn't back it. So he separated himself from the Palestinians while supporting what he said was a great attack on October 7th. But he stopped short of further escalating this conflict, at least for now. We're going to have to wait and see exactly what happens on the ground, but he did not call for all-out war against Israel. He did not commit to his forces, crossing the border, launching more attacks. He said they're already a part of the conflict, and we've seen skirmishes for weeks now at that northern border between Israel and Lebanon, where Hezbollah is based, but it did not appear that he was willing to cross that line and escalate this into the kind of regional conflict that everyone, frankly, is very, very worried about. That's not what we saw. We have to see what actions will be on the ground, but at least from what he said this afternoon, I think most analysts saw that speech and will tell you that he didn't take that step over the line that would at least immediately turn this into a regional conflict.
And Karen, this comes as Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting with Israeli officials. We heard him this morning calling for a humanitarian pause in the fighting to try to get those hostages and civilians out. What is the administration saying about that part of things? And does it seem like Israel's receptive to that?
Yeah, that's been a big focus, Diane, for the administration over the last couple of weeks, but also really in the last few days. They have been ramping up the rhetoric about Israel needing to take into account civilian casualties and where they are targeting these Hamas sites. The White House, though, also continues to say that they believe that Israel has a right and a duty to defend itself. So they're not saying explicitly that Israel has to pull back, and they're not weighing in on operational details and planning, publicly at least, on what the Israeli military is doing. But temporary humanitarian pauses, that's the phrase that White House officials continue to emphasize. And they say that these are very targeted for specific areas for specific amounts of time. And what they want to see the Israelis do is to do that in order so aid can get in, so people can get out, whether they're foreign nationals or Palestinians moving to safer territory. And yesterday we heard from a national security spokesman, John Kirby, who indicated, I think for the first time publicly, that they'd like to see multiple temporary humanitarian pauses, kind of a string of them put together so that people can get to safer places and aid can get in. Very different, though, than what some are calling this White House to be pushing for, of a complete ceasefire. So that's something that the White House has said they do not believe benefits anybody right now. They say it only benefits Hamas.
All right, Karen Travers at the White House, Matt Rivers in Tel Aviv, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.